Alright, hello and welcome. Just quick introduction, my name is Jacob and I will be recording this little event here for Arknights. Just as a quick side note, this is my first time recording anything with voice for this channel, so apologies if the microphone sounds off or anything else. And before we get into this, quick little disclaimer, I am not a native English speaker, so if anything sounds off or I fumble over some English words, sorry not sorry. Anyway, let's get this show started. Arknights Event Vigilo, Episode 1, Spes. 5:20 p.m. Clear. Colombian City, Caronto. The name's Dylan, Rhode Island low-altitude aircraft pilot, and I'm currently running pell-mell around the city. I should be sitting in the cockpit of my aircraft, joystick in hand. The only thing I should be facing down are turbulences and terrain. Instead, I'm clutching one half of an automatic assault crossbow in my hands, and hell, the first time I heard of this model was earlier this morning. Even just half of it is damned heavy. My palms are sweaty. If I have to end up in a war zone, I sure as hell shouldn't be on the ground, let alone in some dark alley in Colombia. I just hope to God that my enemy isn't... Dylan, I got my hands full over here. Can you help a gal out and tell me what it says? It says police, the police of Caronto. He started it. But it seems probably not the real deal. A real botched job if I've ever seen one. At least he looked the part. Pretty much the same as the guys up on the roof earlier this morning. Better than the ones that didn't have a uniform ready. So let me ask this question again. What kind of cops wind their automatic assault crossbows during questioning? Colombian cops? Very funny. You know he's not a cop, at least not the kind we're used to dealing with. I lift my eyes to cast a glance at the black-clad man collapsed in the alley, and then lower my gaze again at the half a weapon in my hands. It was pointed straight at my chest just a moment ago, but now it's smashed into two pieces. This policeman is unconscious. If Blaze remembered the doctor's instructions when she struck, then he should still be able to cling to life. The Rhode Island team arrived in Caronto yesterday. No matter how many times I experience it, this kind of speed always surprises me as a pilot. Rhode Island is in the process of steaming to the Grand Night territory, and we've crossed over the entire western Wastelands by air. The entire western Wastelands, I say. According to the plan, after Amiya and Doctor finish their business, we'll take the same route back to Rhode Island. The Grand Night territory might not have finished its urban subdivision assembly at this time. All I know is Rhode Island was invited to visit the Casimir's Major, but I'm in the dark about when and why. But anyway, the sooner we can head back, the better. If I wasn't in such a hurry, I wouldn't mind taking a few days off, chill in the metropolis, but after this, I'm not in the mood for any of that anymore. Are we safe? Nope, not until we leave Caronto, maybe not even until we leave Colombia. Check for me if he's still breathing. It'd be nice if you made sure he kept on breathing. I'm alright. This is my first time seeing such a powerful automatic crossbow. Are these weapons common in Colombia? Automatic weapons like that are Colombian specialty. I wonder how the doctor's doing. As soon as the raid started, the doctor and Amiya left in a car. No clue if the autopilot system that Closure was fiddling with will work though. What a disaster. Even those two got caught off guard. We're only human after all. Sometimes shit happens. They took over the hotel and seized all the drug samples we kept behind. Whatever, we can worry about that later. We gotta think of a way to get out of this city safely first. We've lost everything, but you are still not standing by my side. Then what has it all been for? Just to leave the faintest sliver of hope? But hope? Hope? Don't you know that hope is a cruel thing indeed? When you realize it can't be undone, when you realize you're powerless, when you find yourself nothing but desperate. Hope is enough to drive a perfectly good person mad. But you want to say something, but you can't move your body. You seem to be drifting in the void, everything before your eyes, so familiar and yet so distant. These are a part of your memories, floating alongside your fragile fragments. Like this, you continue to drift with your ceaseless thoughts, watching the familiar woman before you gradually fade away. You open your eyes, and before you stretches an endless rocky desert. You see a strange, ugly iron bucket helm. A peculiar man seems to be looking your way, but you cannot see his expression through that rough bucket helm. "10:43 AM, clear. Gaspar Wildland. Good morning, good evening, friend. Can you talk? Who are you? Where am I? The friend awakens, little rabbit. Doctor. You feel someone tightly embrace your waist. But before experiencing this warm embrace, the cold, hard touch of the rocks behind you and the throbbing pain in your head remind you that all is not well. I'm so glad. You're awake. I didn't know what I would have done if you didn't wake up. How are you feeling? Does it hurt anywhere? I'm fine. Just my head hurts a little. Your head hurts? Did you hit it? Let me have a look. Worry not, little rabbit. There is nothing wrong with this doctor, at least not physically. On a spiritual level, however, one cannot say. You were mumbling a great deal in your slumber, but before you complain, I did not listen closely. Who are you? Pardon me for not introducing myself. As you can see, I am a merchant. You can call me Cannot, or Mr. Good Enough, should you prefer instead. To be honest, friend, the display you put on earlier was simply too exhilarating. It is not every day one sees someone performing Originium arts while flying off a cliff. A most excellent show indeed. Off a cliff? What were we? This should be Columbia's eastern wastelands. That is correct, little rabbit. This is Gaspar Wildland, and you two are quite fortunate. Fortunate? Yes, quite fortunate indeed. 2 kilometers further south is a poisonous swamp, and had your car gotten stuck in that, good luck getting out. Where are the others? The other operators split off on their own. I'm sure Blaze is taking good care of them. We cannot get a hold of them or any other branch offices. Wait, what about the communicator? We left it all on the bad guy. Not just the communicator, we didn't even have time to pack food or water. Sounds like a desperate situation, friends. But there is always a way, if you don't mind. Might as well. I'm quite familiar with this area. I can show you to the nearest messenger outpost, where, should all go well, you will be able to contact your friends. Who attacked us? An excellent question indeed. but the only ones who could answer it are no longer able to speak. The bucket-headed man points to the nearby cliff, where a unique-looking armed vehicle is emitting thick black smoke. By the looks of things, it's been wrecked for quite some time. Mercenaries have been chasing us even after we left the city. Dedicated to their job, dedicated to the point of giving up their own lives. To be frank, Colombian mercenaries range from peerless to useless, and the ones with the resources to hire such dedicated mercenaries can be counted on one hand. They seem to have taken quite an interest in new friends. How exactly did you offend these great moguls? So it was them. So, Miss Amia, are you really unwilling to consider the offer? In Colombia, you'll be hard-pressed to find a more suitable partner than Mama John's. We can provide fairly favorable terms for Rhode Island drug sales. Thank you for your generosity, but we're only here for technical exchange. Rhode Island has no plans for any deeper-level commercial cooperation. And the Oripathy analgesics are still undergoing trials. These are more of a proof of concept than a finished product. The process of researching and developing Oripathy treatment is long and complicated, and in these areas we still have many opportunities to cooperate in the future. Many opportunities for cooperation in the future? They planned this from the very beginning. Should we contact the police first? Police! Friend, you don't seem to understand where you are. Mama John's is the largest firm in Caronto. The chief of police boasts of his connections to their corporate leadership in order to display his status. I suggest you change your mind. The fact that they dare to steal your goods in the urban core means that from the very beginning they never thought anything of you. It's all my fault. I bought into their talk. Don't blame yourself. Nobody could have expected them to be like this. Mr. Goody? Ah, what is it, Miss Rabbit? You just said you could take us through the Wastelands, right? That I did say, Miss Rabbit. How do you plan to do that? Were you a catastrophe messenger? That is nothing you need to concern yourself over. I have plied my trade in the Wastelands for many years, and that has given me a knack for avoiding catastrophes. Of course, I do ask for a small guide fee to refine originium ingots in this case. Not too much to ask for in such a situation, yes? We only have Colombian gold certificates and won't be able to pay you until we get in touch with our ship. Is that alright? No problem, my friend. Doctor, what do you think? We could also figure a way back into the city to meet up with Blaze and the others. It's too dangerous. Looks like we don't have a choice. That is scarcely the case. We always have many choices at many points in our lives. But of course, we tend to pick the best one from the available options. I hope we can have a fruitful relationship in the coming days. Of course, my friend. I trust that this will be a most enjoyable journey. Five hours later. As I said, bandits are not the biggest threat in the Wastelands. I once knew the most courageous local... He even... Doctor, give me a hand. Whew, we're up. Oh, many hills have we crossed? This is only the second one, Doctor. I really let myself go. Doctor, sit down here for a minute. Friend, at your speed, we will be on the road for at least another whole day. The doctor might not be able to maintain such a brisk pace. We can slow down a touch, but why can't we go a bit slower? Even as a merchant of the Wastelands, there is a limit to the amount of food and water I can carry on me. If we slow down too much, we will inevitably run into a supply shortage. If that's the case, Mr. Cannot... Is there a forest nearby? I've heard of an oasis in the wastes of eastern Colombia. There is, but what use is it? Night, above the Wastelands, in a dark mountain pass. A tongue of flame consumes dry branches, and the sound of a wooden spoon tapping against a bowl echoes across the canyon, along with Amia's humming. These vegetables, as well as the mushrooms here, are pretty much all edible as long as they are cooked though. This kind is slightly toxic, but can still be eaten in an emergency. I should have given you more credit, Miss Rabbit. To be honest, most friends from the nomadic cities have no sense of how to survive in the wild. Many I know will never once step foot in the Wastelands. I see that you have a decent survivalist skill set. Where are you from? Rimbilliton? I wouldn't be surprised if you were in fact from Rimbilliton. Actually, the doctor taught me all of this a few years ago. Huh? I did? Yes, back then. Doctor, are these edible? These vegetables, as well as the mushrooms here, are pretty much all edible, as long as they're cooked though. Those were trying times, harrowing times, but they were also good times. It seems that something is stirring in the back of your mind, but it gradually blurs out. You try to recall that scene again, but the vague memory is like bubbles that occasionally rise to the water's surface, only to disappear just as quickly. Doctor? Is this something that happened before then? It's nothing. It did happen a few years ago, but it doesn't matter if you can't remember. She lowers her head and continues to stir the bowl, but the smile on her face seems somewhat lonelier. I must also say, you've chosen a most prudent location to make camp. Even though we've made a fire, our position is not easy to detect. Are there any bandits around here? Bandits, bounty hunters, and countless rust hammers. There are no shortage of annoyances in this land. Rusthammer, I've heard that name before. They're a group of vicious marauders, right? That description would not be a very righteous one. Rusthammer is a loose organization, and it is made up of various smaller groups. For example, there is Fiend's Gang, made up of Sarkas, and also a group of strange folks who worship catastrophes as gods. I think they're called followers of the Arcosoria or something. They worship catastrophes? Followers of Arcosoria? What a crazy bunch. I heard something about a Rusthammer gang in Sargon that called themselves Arcosoria Devils. They seem to have been searching for an Arcosoria war god with massive horns on its head. An operator from Colombia once told me that Rusthammer used to be just a few small scattered groups. Over the past few years though, their numbers have greatly increased, stretching from the mountains of Ursus to the wastelands of Colombia. Our world is not a peaceful one, friend. And And the Wastelands is no exception. You will encounter all sorts of strange people and strange occurrences. But you will adapt. Here, Doctor. Dinner's ready. Thank you, Amiya. Very good. What a heartfelt scene of intimacy. Mr. Cannot. I'm simply jesting. My apologies. Please do not take it seriously. At this rate, you will lose everything. You will be alone, with nothing. Is it worth it? Loneliness is a poison that erodes the mind. How much do you think you can withstand? By the time you awaken, there will not be no kin at your side. Nobody will recognize your sacrifice, let alone remember it. Is this the future you look forward to? You wake up. A crimson glow spills forth from the distant horizon, and the darkness left unto humanity by the shadow moon gradually ebbs. Frigid wind gnaws at your cheeks as it blows across your face, and the land of Terra once again ushers in a new dawn. You are up early, friend. The morning air is refreshing. Where's the little rabbit? Is she not awake yet? Let her rest a bit longer. What are you doing? Short-tailed foul beasts. Don't have much meat, but they can suffice as breakfast. This is a speciality of the Colombian Wastelands. Worry not. It's free of charge. A new day comes to Terra, and the situation has not changed, as far as I can tell. Nevertheless, good morning, friend. You were talking in your sleep last night. Your mental state has seemed a bit unstable. Do be careful. What did you hear? I am a trustworthy person. I do not go out of my way to listen, let alone remember anything. Plus, you were only mumbling. Couldn't really hear anything clearly. But every night, the little rabbit is very concerned about your sleep talking. Pardon me for being noisy, but after all the chatting we've done on our journey, it is hard not to take certain impressions. Have you lost your memories or something of that sort? I see. If that's some sort of secret, let's say I never asked. If it is an uncouth question indeed, and I asked out of simple curiosity. Something's happened to me, and I lost some of my memories. Maybe most of them. Occasionally, I will recall some of them. Just tiny fragments. Well, maybe not occasionally. Only a few rare times. Friend, I have a vague idea of what's going on. Suppose your memory is a spread out newspaper, and now someone has spilled a bucket of paint on it. You can only see bits and pieces of the content through the gaps in the paint, but you can't grasp the full picture of the content. That seems like a pretty good description of my experiences. I am a stranger to myself. It sounds like something that defies all words, friend. But I am no psychiatrist, and there is not much I can do for you. Sometimes I even find myself thinking about the kind of person I was before all this. I don't know who I am. I can only piece myself together from the words of others. That's not important, friend. Our existence is often based on how others perceive us. The sum of yourself is but the feedback of auditory, visual, and emotional interactions with others. It doesn't matter what kind of person you are, but from a social point of view, it should be quite clear what kind of person others need you to be. Do you perhaps know some way of restoring my memory quickly after I make up my mind? I do, but I can't recommend it. Let me think of how to put this. Our lives are like a elastic belt. If you stretch out one side, the other side will contract. If you want to restore your memories quickly, you will have to endure many unmanageable consequences. The quaint head of yours might not withstand such a tussle. Besides, this only applies to the most common terms of amnesia. Whether for your own sake or for that of the little bunny who you value so much, I'd recommend you just taking things easy. By the way, the little rabbit's up. Doctor, good morning. Morning, Amiya. I'll leave you two to it then. I'm going to fetch some firewood. Amiya stands beside you quietly, watching the sun rising in the distance. The rays of light are slowly melting the cloud tones of the wastelands, every piece of the rocky desert dyed by the gradually rising sun. Perhaps you have never set foot upon this land, but in a corner of Terra's vast domain, you once wandered with Amiya. You once left your footprints in this sparsely populated world. This should have been your impression, your fragments of your memory. But the truth is, this is the story Kaltzit told you. In the cold wind of the early morning, you rack your brain, trying to find a tangible thread within your hazy memory. The light of daybreak, the cold wind of the wastelands, you and Amiya, Amiya and you. You can remember, and yet you cannot remember. Amiya takes hold of your hand. Doctor, are you okay? I'm fine. I remember it was around the same time. We spent our first night in the Wastelands and watched the sun rise over the horizon just like this. You asked me a bunch of weird questions. Of course, all of that happened years ago, but it seems like it was just yesterday. Sorry, Amiya, It's okay, Doctor. As long as you're here, one day, things will get better. The next day, 2:39 p.m., clear. Messenger outpost. Several huge engineering vehicles and an armed off-road transport make a circular formation on the rocky, barren expanse surrounding several makeshift sheds. The noisy din of generators and the roar of running originium boilers can be heard near and far, intermingled with the loud conversation of travelers and messengers. The Messenger Outpost, an oasis of civilization beyond the ecological oasis of the Wastelands, your destination. Finally, we've arrived safely at the outpost. We didn't encounter any major difficulties on our journey, nor did a catastrophe befall us. You are quite lucky indeed, friend. The third car from the left is the messenger contact station here. You might be able to contact your group there. The messenger rates there are pretty good. But the room over there has the logo of Mama John's on it. Are you sure it's fine? As long as you keep your low profile and don't cause any trouble, there won't be any problems. This is a messenger outpost after all. Even in Colombia, few companies will go out of their way to get on the messenger's bad side. Doctor, wait here for me. I don't stand out as much as you do, so I'll head down to the messenger contact station. Mr. Can I trouble you to stay with the doctor for a while? I'll be right back. Don't worry, little rabbit. I'm good at handling people from prying. I'm good at hiding people from prying eyes. There won't be any problems. Relax, friend. Look at these armed vehicles over there. Do you see those anti-armor turrets? Trust me, it's very safe here. Here, have a sip. It's a specialty from a local microbrewery. Give it a try. Is this beer? Indeed! I've heard the owner of this microbrewery is infected. Unexpected, yes? Even among Colombians pioneers, there are a few who can accomplish this much. Now is not the time to drink and make merry. Fair enough. Why don't we go and relax over there and listen to the news? You know, the very best thing about Colombia is that they provide radio base stations for all the Wasteland outposts. You can hear the news on the radio from just about anywhere. Almost all cities have intra-city broadcasting, but the decision to cover the wilderness with base stations is unique to Terra. You should take it all in and treat it like sightseeing. The armed conflict that occurred in the northern district of Caronto has gradually subsided. On site, police found evidence of a large-scale crossbow shootout, but have not apprehended any suspects. The Caronto police announced that one of the parties involved in the conflict has ties to a foreign company, Rhode Island. The specifics of this organization are not known at this point. Some sources note that this foreign company has certain commercial conflicts with the local firm, but the spokesperson of this local business declined to comment on the matter. The police believe that this may have been a terrorist attack on Caronto, and the specifics of this armed conflict are pending further investigation. Tokta, you're back, little rabbit. The people at the messenger contact station didn't come to work until 3 past noon, so we'll have to wait. The news just now. It sounds like your people have withdrawn successfully, which is a good thing. But Mama John's probably got what it came for. Most regrettable. The corporation intrigue here reminds me of Casimir's. Ha! Something like this is routine operation in Colombia. That bunch moved quickly and wiped their asses in advance. Don't dwell on it, friend. You'll leave this place soon enough. It's too late to manage this problem now, but be mindful about it next time. But what do they get out of this batch of semi-finished medical samples? Very well. It seems that you've made up your mind. Are you familiar with Colombia's business, my friend? How many times have you had to deal with them in the past? Rhode Island had some simple dealings with a few Colombian technology companies. Oh, I'm sure simple dealings are decently good on the surface. But, my friend, the ugly and indecent parts are not often placed on the table for everyone to see. Come then, I will take you someplace, so you can see something fun. Next. Hello? I need this month's dose. Sure, let's take a look. Mr. Dave, is it? Ah, yes. I saw your application. You've been a model employee this past month. Here's your monthly medication ration. Thank you. Thank you. Would it be possible to get next month's dose in advance? My wife is pretty bad shape lately and I need... Mr. Dave, according to company regulations, we are unable to provide any medication in advance. Thank you for your understanding. But as you know, we always prepare additional medication for commercial sale, and you can always go next door to purchase more Oripiphy suppressants. But... Company regulations, Mr. Dave. Thank you for your understanding. Next. What is this place? Shh, hush. This is the Frontier Department of Mama John's. Keep a low profile. They're passing out medicine to the infected? In Colombia, many things operate in a way unlike elsewhere in Terra. For example, consider the Wasteland Pioneers. Pioneers, the lifeblood of Colombia's waste war expansion, the writers of Colombia's wilderness stories, the protagonists of the Colombian dream. They sign a contract with Mama John's and open up land in the barren wastes, establish residential areas for Colombia and its companies. Depending on how they work, companies will also provide them with medicine and supplies as a sort of wage. Here, take this. The solid and liquid components are packaged separately. This is the medicine they distribute. This is the medication they give to the infected. You are the expert here. I doubt you need me to explain. This is not a rip-off suppressants. Of course not. You know better than me. This half is a generic painkiller and the other half is a nutrition solution. Why? It's not a question of why, don't you see? They don't need to sell real suppressants. These pioneers infected from all over the world have never seen a real Oripathy suppressant. Though these things can't actually suppress Oripathy itself, they can relieve the symptoms of the disease. The product of Mama John's works and works quickly, and that's good enough for them. The concept of suppressant is new to Terra, and naturally they wouldn't know. Since they can make painkillers, they don't need to make real suppressants. Why do they care about our technology then? That story would be even more interesting. Did you know, before Mama John's became a big name, they were just a donut chain. How could they have mastered the technology of to produce drugs? All their pharmaceutical production lines are purchased from other companies such as Beachbrella, Tower Hill Biotech, Rhinelab. Now that they sell painkillers and suppressants and make so much money, do you think the other pharmaceutical companies will sit on their hands? They've been thoroughly beaten down by other companies, but they also learned a whole lot. This time they decided to directly off their partner, something that is distinctly Colombian. With your batch of samples in hand, I suspect the landscape of their cheap drugs will soon change. A more efficacious drug with a strong analgesic will convince more people that this, in fact, is Oripathy suppressant. How can that be allowed? Rhode Island's samples are not Oripathy suppressants at all. Those samples haven't been tested for safety yet and might have serious side effects. We haven't... Let me tell you what will happen next. Mama John's will use your technology to make more and more suppressants at lower costs. Of course, those poor pioneers will become the guinea pigs. Will they die? Let me tell you the truth. Even without Mama John's, they will still die. Colombia's frontiers have been bought with blood of the pioneers. Their life expectancy is not long regardless. But those who remain, those whose lives were not claimed while paving the wilderness, are even more likely to work for them in exchange for those so-called suppressants. This medicine gives some short-term pain relief. Maybe it can even buy them a few extra years. Then the newspapers across Colombia's major cities will publish headline after headline of their great achievements right on the front page. Mama John's strides into pharmaceuticals, bringing new hope to the infected. Impeccable. As for the truth, it is not all important compared to the actual effectiveness of the analgesics. Of course you can tell these poor people those drugs that you're taking can't actually cure Oripathy, but can best be regarded as expensive painkillers and placebos. And what then? You keep telling the truth, saying that even the best suppressants by far can't bring back their completely normal lives, and that they will continue to be accompanied by sickness and pain until they die. On the subject of oripathy, Rhode Island indeed stands at the bleeding edge in its world. So you know the truth, but is it truth that they can stomach? And this is Columbia, my friend. Nothing will change and everything makes sense. People come to Columbia with hope, create value with hope, and die with hope. But we can't just sit around and watch them use Rhode Island to... See, this is very practical. You cannot save them. Nobody can save them. Not to mention, it is difficult to even protect yourself now. For the infected who harbor hope in their hearts, hope never existed in the first place, and you know this better than they do. You should contact your people sooner than later, and find a way to get back. I don't want to admit it, but facts are facts. Doctor. I know that hope is a cruel thing indeed. When you realize it can't be undone, when you realize you are powerless, when you find yourself nothing but desperate. Hope is enough to drive a perfectly good person mad. People believe what they want to believe, and that makes them feel much better. You look over at Damia, you watch her ears slowly droop, her eyes filled with sadness and stained with helplessness. The two of you have seen much, but you both will see more still. You both understand all this, and in fact there is no need for the Wasteland merchant to explain it again. In the distance, along the border between the Wastelands and the sky, the sun slowly sinks. Day is about to draw to an end in Terra's Wastelands. The light is about to fade, and the twin moons will soon take its place in the sky. The sun will still rise tomorrow, but not every infected will see the coming dawn. Even if there are enough drugs to suppress oripathy in this place, it is too late for so many more. Nothing will change. Nothing will change? But, Mr. Cannot, even if hope will continue to bring us pain, I still think it's worth it. If we give up on hope, what is the meaning of everything we've had to endure? Doctor. Oh, quite a rousing speech, friend. You did not convince me, for you will find it hard to do so, but I felt the sincerity of your emotions. I do like how you still refuse to bow to reality despite having seen it. Though, to be honest, you've already embarrassed yourselves. Let's put that speech aside for now. I know that you two are very practical people, so I will also pose a very practical question. I'm quite curious. What will you do next? You've already arrived at the messenger outpost at the border, and you will be leaving this place soon. Do you plan to turn around and head back? What then? To be frank, my friend, unless you have some way of getting your things back from them, you will have a very hard time resolving these matters. Will you charge there single-handedly with all guns blazing? Should I lend you a burden beast so you can look like a hero of the Vale from the indigenous Colombian people's folklore? Oh, I almost forgot. You can't fight. Mr. Cannot, please don't say that about the doctor. No, Amia, he's right. In order to get Rhode Island out of here safely, we have to get crafty. From the sound of things, you plan to appeal to reason? 4 days later. 4:01 p.m. Clear. Columbia Detention Center. Alright, you can leave now. Thank you. Thank you very much. Doctor. It went well, Amia. Don't do that again. I was very sick. You played your bag of tricks quite well, my friend. Very clever. I'm glad that the little excursion I took on was not in vain, nor was me waiting out here for a few days. I really did underestimate you. But I'm a bit scared of you now, my friend. I'll take that as a compliment. I still don't understand what happened. Simply stated, our clever friend here voluntarily surrendered to Colombian Customs and Border Protection, saying that your company had smuggled a batch of oripathy-related drugs into Colombia. If you know anything about Colombian laws, you should know that oripathy-related drugs are the most strictly regulated medical products. The company that lobbied to implement this law in the past spent a lot of efforts to monopolize the drug market in Colombia. The information provided by our friend here definitely alarmed the Colombian Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Art Units, and Originium, and they certainly aren't easy to deal with. Per protocol, the Bureau security forces went there in no time and seized all items in this smuggled product trade. But we have complete contracts and records of our cooperation with them, which should be easy to find. Haha, that's the important part. This rabbit, when they chose to attack you, they had no intention of leaving any footprints. They have destroyed all evidence of this corporation, and nothing would match up in the investigation. So what kind of situation will prevent a company from leaving behind any evidence of a transaction? What else but shady business? So it was the Colombian government that seized all the samples. According to law, they will destroy these smuggled goods, and then there's nothing after that. Mama John's is pretty much omnipotent around here, and what if the scope extends to cover all of Colombia? Colombian Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Arts Units, and Originium. Their name might be a mouthful, but they have some competent people, and they'll be watching closely. I understand now, but even with that being the case, won't Rhode Island have a blackened record? Haha, this is Colombia after all. There's not a company out there with a perfectly wiped rear. Pay a fine, sign off a ticket, and it won't be long until people forget about it. Perhaps people might have stopped caring already. After all, in order to cover their ass, Mama John's might have inadvertently given Rhode Island its best cover. And in case the Bureau really came for Rhode Island, they would be the ones in trouble. Of course, your doctor did spend 3 days in the Bureau's detention room, which is its own price. It's hard for me to evaluate this move, Doctor. Dr. Calcet is going to be mad. That she will be, but if there's anything I know about her, I wouldn't mouth off like that if I were you. Oh, place. The gang's all here. The well-built feline operator is looking at you with eyes of helplessness. Doctor, you caused a real big uproar this time around. Fines, fees, jail time, and even the Colombian government investigating illegitimate business practices. But I have no clue how you managed to sort it all out. I almost had to call Dr. Calcet myself. How the hell are you gonna explain this to her when you get back? Beg for mercy? Doctor, please don't ever take a gamble like this in the future. We could contact the ship and wait for support. Besides, Rhode Island actually has a contingency plan for dealing with situations like this. At least the trip through the Wastelands was fun, wasn't it? Fun? I suppose, just a little. Doctor, don't change the subject. After we get back, you have to tell the whole truth to Dr. Carlson. I'll help you with the report. Thanks. Then I suppose it is time to part ways, my friend. As I said before, our journey together was most enjoyable. Yes, it definitely was. Thank you so much, Mr. Caronto. I do believe we will meet again in the near future. Until then, I wish you good health. See you later. Who was that? Gave me the sense there was something else under that nice front of his. Doctor? Hmm? There's something I'd like to ask you. Back then, you said you needed Mr. Caronto to do a little favor for you. What was it? 3 days ago. 3:27 p.m. Clear. Somewhere in the Wastelands. You're a real crazy one, friend. There's a rather destructive trick you've got there. So, what do you need my help with? Though we don't want to use force, I still want to keep the option open. I would like your people to protect Amiya up until she leaves safely. Oi, hold up easy now. What do you mean my people? Mr. Caronto, I hope you can at least be honest with me now. The strange man goes silent, but you can't judge his expression under that thick bucket helm. However, you feel that the silence harbors neither anger nor dissatisfaction. Well done, Dr. Jacob. I thought my friends did a good job concealing themselves. This whole time I took you for an intelligent but overly mental person. You truly are full of surprises. Well then, Dr. Jacob. Of course I can help you with this little favor, though I believe that with Miss Amiya's skills, she won't really need my help. But business is business, and what can you offer me? I'll turn a blind eye to the documents you took from our car. How does that sound? Haha! Beautifully played, friend. It's a deal. If everything goes well, we will see you in 3 days. Of course, my friend. I wish you the best of luck. Alright, you can come out now. You alone? Is it over? Not quite. The upcoming show should be quite entertaining. That one is extremely dangerous. We shouldn't let him go. We could come up against that Rhode Island. Why should we help them? Just trust me. The existence of an organization like theirs is good for us. The longer such people live, the more interesting this world will become. Let's go, friends. We still have a lot of work to do. Alright, that's the first part. Thank you for listening. And holy shit, this has almost been an hour. Bye-bye.